Hi, my name is DeCayette. I'm the head of the commercial and print department at Prestige Talent Agency in Beverly Hills, and you're watching the virtual channel network's Agent's Eye.
How did you get your start in the business?
I went to Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island for sports entertainment management, and subsequently moved to LA 7 days after graduation in the dreams of being a huge sports agent. Got here to town and met a great agent who's very vested, Beverly Klein from Independent Artists. And she kind of just, in our really quick, brief meeting, she explained to me that this town is run by TV and not by sports. And that was how I segued into now finding an internship, an externship then to kind of hone my skills and get into the business, and I started at the House of Representatives.
How did you land at Prestige Talent Agency?
I actually recently, it seems like recently, but it was actually at the end of September of last year. I had been at another agency in town called the Coast to Coast Talent Group that some of you might know. And I was there doing commercials for them, and then this opportunity just kind of landed on my desk at Coast. And it was just the right opportunity, the right time, and I seized the moment.
What is the company most proud of to date?
I think what we're most proud of is our growth in the short amount of time that it's been open, since the doors have opened. I'm the newest member of the team, but to see the strides that the company has gone through till I came and added my value to the company, that's really our biggest sell, is that we're just looking at how blessed we've been to have great talent, to have a great following from casting directors who are very reputable in town, and just the general following of the community that is really backing us.
How does the commercial department operate differently than the theatrical department?
They're very much two different beasts. I think the commercial department, the overall consensus is that there's a lot more clients. And that's just because simply it's not as intimate of a list because we can use more faces per se. I have some clients that don't have any dialogue and that go out for things that are mostly no dialogue because they might have certain restraints as to like accents or certain things that on the theatrical side they won't have. And they won't have those limitations. So generally, the commercial side, I can say, is more inundated with actors.
Do commercial agents pitch clients for roles, or is it solely electronic submissions?
It's all electronic in the submission aspect, and then I call and pitch to follow. And I push a lot into session myself. So during the day, as they're kind of canceling and having the manipulations of their sessions in the morning, if I have people that are really, truly made for the role, then I'll call casting and say, hey, can you see this person? Because, they might be going for that role and might have missed someone. And so I'm definitely a person who's always on the phones.
As a commercial agent, do you work with any of the talent managers around town?
Very much so. I work hand in hand with a lot of talent managers that are very reputable in town. And just they're a good wealth of finding a good pool of talent that they've already somewhat developed and put in the right mindset so that once they get with you and want to do business with you, that they already kind of have their head in the direction and know certain of the steps on how to conduct themselves.
Do casting directors ever reach out with critique, letting you know if a client was either amazing or unprofessional?
Yes, both. The latter, the one that, they never want to see the client, that rarely ever happens. But once in a blue it does, and it's very disheartening, and it's usually a term for us to part ways, because if a casting director if you've conducted yourself inappropriately in an audition, then that's someone that I don't want to be the person that's carrying my agency and our namesake with that. We don't want to be associated with anyone who's unprofessional.
Why are new actors sometimes encouraged to seek commercial representation before seeking theatrical?
I think because it is less of an intense, aspect of the business, I can say, or a less intense leg of the business, because it's a little bit more developmental. You can get your bearings in the commercial side. On the theatrical side, you have to have your bearings. You have to be very vested and very, already have that resume and those credits to even try to attempt to break into that side. Whereas on the commercial side, you can start with your look. Not to say that it doesn't take the talent also, but it can start with your look.
What do you look for in new clients?
I'll start with someone's look and then go towards the talent immediately right thereafter. I think just to kind of reiterate what I said before, I look for someone that has a specific look and demographic that can fit the trends of today. And once they fit those trends, then I can see if they have the talent to back it and go from there.
What sort of training do you recommend for commercial actors?
I definitely think it's two parts of a puzzle in the commercial aspect. I say improv and just commercial classes, basic on-camera commercial classes. And improv, a lot of actors are remiss on their improv skills, and it's really an immense, immense accolade in this business.
If an actor is called in for a meeting with you, what can he or she expect?
They can expect just conversation to show their personality, to kind of just come in and have a friendly banter, and then after that, probably perform a read for me because I always test drive the car before I take it off the lot.
Do actors feel intimidated during your meetings for representation?
Not really. I think that I don't, if I was a diva, maybe I'd be like, look at me. But I think that I'm very personable, and I think a lot of actors just come in and we have a very good rapport and just chop it up. And if, you have a good personality, then we'll vibe really well.
If you don't follow up with an actor, should he or she follow up with you, or does it mean you are no longer interested?
For the most part, they actually should take it as that I'm not interested, solely because if I was interested, I always reach out to the talent that I want to work with, because that means I saw something in you and I saw where I want to put you and how I can see what I can do for you and vice versa. And to say that if you don't get the phone call and that I'm not interested, it might not mean that there's anything wrong that they've done. It just might mean that in their criteria, I might have other actors that are in the same realm and have some similarities, or that they're not at the level yet that I think that they're going to be ready to be competitive enough to go out on my roster.
Does an actor need to be in town to be represented by you?
Yes, they should be in town before trying to contact me. I've attempted to rep people in smaller markets, even here in California, up north per se, and that just hasn't worked out because especially on the commercial side, auditions are day to day and somewhat same day sometimes. So if you have the opportunity that comes through and it's for a same day audition, if you live in Kansas, it will not happen.
How important is booking out for auditions?
Booking out is immensely important. It says to us that you know that you have these commitments prior to and that you're going to give us the adequate time to not submit you. The ball is always rolling on our side to submit you, and we're always diligently working. And so with that said, if we submit you, we know that if you're not booked out, you're always here to be available for auditions. In the opportunity that you're not available, we assume that you would always let us know and just respect our time and casting's time that you will not be available for auditions in that window.
If an actor isn't booking or getting called back or being put on a veil, how long will you wait until dropping them from your roster?
I think it depends on the relationship. It depends on how much I've seen their zeal and their enthusiasm and their proactivity. If it's somebody who does not ever do anything wrong and they're just trying their hardest and they're just not getting it, sometimes I'm the first agent to try and fix them. I'll be like, all right, let's do this. Let's figure out what the problem is, because I'm not one to throw the baby out with the bathwater per se just yet. I think that if I had saw something in you, and I think I know that I have the eye, then I know that casting directors and the ad agencies will also see something in you and you just haven't hit yet. Now, if you're a person who isn't the most professional and you're not the most devout on this side and the commercial side and you haven't brought anything to the table, then we can part ways relatively quickly.
How should a client build and maintain a relationship with his or her commercial agent?
I think it's proactivity. I think being able to keep after certain aspects and always increasing your marquee value. In any way, shape, and form, you can add to your value by either classes or improv or doing different things, always making it to auditions. We know that things happen. We're human. We're only human. But being punctual, being professional, being all those P's, and getting all of those things done, are how you can really nurture and grow your relationships with your commercial agent, or with any agent for that matter.
What is a big turnoff for commercial agents in regards to their clients' behavior?
Missing auditions or having conflicts with auditions a lot, that really makes us lose the luster for you. If we were very excited about what we could see you doing and going out for, having to ask for time frames or just not being available for auditions takes away from that fact and usually ends up in parting ways with that client, unfortunately, even if there was a big, you hoped that they would have been able to make all of their auditions, but unfortunately it's the truth of the world that we live in.
What should commercial talent understand about commercial work?
A few things that I think commercial talent should definitely understand are that there are very specific outlines into how they cast these commercials and very specific boxes in which they put people and they fit. And I think a lot of actors kind of overthink it and let themselves get caught up in the fact that they didn't get it, but they forget that there was 3,000 others that might have been submitted for that role, and that it just comes down to basically what the demographic that they had in their mind and the outlook of what the end product was supposed to be, and that's how they casted it. I think that a lot of actors take it onto themselves and forget to leave it in the room, and that it's not necessarily about your talent as much as it's about the overall picture.
You created something called your commercial Bible. Will you tell us more about it?
I took the time to create that. I call it my commercial Bible because I feel like it's like rules to live by. And I do it also because I think that it's something that professionally for the career, the actor's career, that it will lead them in the right path. And it will only help to add value to them, and things that might have been questions that they might have had, the answers would be in there. And some questions that they might have for me, if they just refer to it, they can answer the questions themselves. There are a lot of good resources that I had found over the course of my time in this business, and as I'm always constantly growing, that I want my clients to grow with. And answers to the questions that I've had sometimes, that the questions are in there. And I think it's a really good tool for the actors that do read it, because not all of my actors read it.
Does it bother you when you see non-clients sending out or using your commercial Bible?
No, in all honesty, I think that any actor that it can add value to, anyone's career that I can help, I'm glad to help. And with that said, a lot of the agents around town are my friends, so if I can add value to your career and your book for one of my friends, it only helps the pot.
What do you want all of your commercial actors to know?
I think what they should know is that definitely two things. Number one, headshots are extremely important. Because I think a lot of actors are like, they don't recognize that this is their number one calling card, and this is what's going to separate them from the rest of the other actors in their criteria or in their category. And I think that a lot of the other things that actors take for granted are how valuable audition opportunities are, and how hard they are to come by, and how hard we work for them to get them for the actor, and how they should value that opportunity as it's a gift to get that audition, because there are thousands of other actors who would die for that audition that you're getting that you might miss, God forbid.
How often should an actor change his or her commercial headshot?
I think it has two waves. I think for children, it's about every 6 months, if not less, because children are ever-changing. They grow so quickly. Teeth fall out, teeth come in, voices change, and all those kind of different things for children. For adults, I would say at about a year, just to kind of keep current, and your looks do change in certain aspects, but I say about a year to keep fresh.
What are some commercial looks that are standard for a good commercial shot?
I think some of the looks that are standard are they just speak to character. Every look has to accompany something. The smirk has to accompany what the smirk is telling you that person is doing and how they're feeling. The smile has to tell you that they're fun and that they're jovial and that this is a jovial, happy-go-lucky spot. It definitely speaks hand in hand with any attitude you're trying to convey. And so the doctor, you want that person to be earnest, warm, caring, have good bedside manner. That all has to be conveyed by their headshot.
How important are other tools, for example, the resume and the reel, for a commercial actor?
The format of the resume isn't as quite important as updating the resume. And keeping a reel, any footage that a casting director can see is a positive, unless it's footage that doesn't show you in the best light. And that's why I always tell actors, make sure it's the footage that is showing you in the best light and the best quality and the best projects.
How specific should an actor be with his or her special skills section of the resume?
I send out a lot of mass messages to my talent, and the mass message will state, seeking basketball experts. When I say that, I want the people that will come to me, the actors that will be submitted and will be possibly pitched and will be the ones that I will keep an eye out to see if you'll get the times, are the ones that will sell themselves to me. I don't know your skill level. I don't know, per se, how many years of experience you have, unless you have it on your resume or unless you've conveyed that to me. And a lot of the times actors are very vague in their description. When I seek, how proficient someone is, I want to know if you were going to be scouted for the NBA versus if you just know how to dribble. And I think that's what a lot of actors forget, to give me that selling tool. When I say who's proficient at basketball, I don't want to just hear me. I want to hear I was former NCAA Division I power, center. Kobe Bryant's my uncle. Whatever I can use to sell you, I will sell you.
How does an actor prepare for all of the different types of commercial auditions?
The copy audition, please have your copy ready. Be familiar with it. Make sure you've gotten your sides and you're prepared prior to your audition. I know the other agents around town, we're always proactive on making sure we get out times as soon as possible. So as soon as we get them out, try to review the materials, make yourself familiar with them so that you can go in and with that copy audition, be able to be off book if need be and be ready to handle that copy. The personality and kind of character auditions, show your personality. Don't hold back. Don't go over the top and do wild, crazy antics inside in your audition, but definitely convey to them who you are and your strengths and how you are and how they can love you and they can want to bring you in to sell their product and how you can sell their product adequately.
Are hard copy headshots still needed at commercial auditions?
Hard copy headshots are definitely needed. They might not take them, but I think it's just to show as a professional stance where you are and that you're the proactive actor and that no matter what, even if they don't ask for them or that they don't need them, that you have them. Show them that you're ahead of the game with the rest and that you still have your headshot. And if they don't need it, put it back in your car. Doesn't hurt.
In auditions, should actors listen to the session runner or follow their instincts?
I think they should always follow the session runner's advice. These people are not out to in any way skew them in the wrong direction or out to get them. They're definitely, if anything, there to help them, and they're doing their job.
Does lifestyle choice limit the kinds of campaigns for which you can submit an actor?
Very much so. Having dietary restrictions definitely limits what you can submit the client for. With that said, I don't think I will necessarily have prejudice against someone who doesn't eat dairy or eat pork per se, because that might be a religious aspect, and I think that's hindering, and I think they might just take away from other opportunities that they might be available for. So I think that in that case, in those rare cases, I respect that choice.
Has the amount of non-union commercial work continued to rise over the past few years?
I think it's still looking the same, if not still 60-40 non-union. There's still very much a plethora of non-union work, and if not adding to, which is quite condescending not condescending, it's contrary to how we would like to see the industry, but that's the nature of the beast at the moment.
Can you talk a bit about holding fees, contracts, and renegotiations as it applies to the actors and the agent?
Generally, holding fees are for your conflict. So a conflict is any aspect of a product that you've sold, i.e. Toyota, Honda. You can't do the latter or their competition. So if you do Honda, you can't do Toyota, and for that they give you a fee, which is called a holding fee, so that you can to basically block you out for that time of period in which you can't do those other products. Renegotiations is when a contract has expired and they look towards us prior to the expiration to come at us, and they would like to use you again and use your likeness, and we come at them with a negotiation on what we can viably come to them and meet for them to be able to use that spot again.
Actors are asked to sign non-disclosure agreements now at commercial auditions. What should actors know about these agreements?
What actors should know is that the non-disclosure is so that you won't disclose any information about the product and the marketing campaign that's the proposed ongoing campaign that they're looking to shoot. I think what actors forget is that this is a product that is in transition, and it has usually yet to arrive to market. And so by actors divulging sometimes what the audition is that they're in for or what the product may be, they might ruin the campaign and thus skewer their chances of getting in on that product or getting in on that campaign.
Can you discuss the difference between local, regional, and national spots, as well as broadcast versus cable runs and daytime versus primetime runs?
So local, as you know, would just be usually the market in which you live. It's really about 100 square miles in which you live is really where the run would be. Regional is a section of the country, per se. So it could be Southern California, it could be the Southeast, it could be the Northeast, it could be the Southwest, etc. And then you have also the national network, the national scale, of course, which will run throughout the whole nation from Alaska to Vermont and all the scope within that reach. And then you have a few other segmented little markets that sometimes they might just run in a wild spot and run in very tiny markets and jump around, as they say. The broadcast network is a wider market, as you know, because it would run national network for everything that's broadcast versus cable or only for cable subscribers in the national scope. So you definitely have a greater reach on the broadcast side, and thus increasing what you can make in a commercial on the broadcast side versus on the cable side. The daytime versus primetime runs, it definitely makes a bigger difference because they know that the markets and the viewership is definitely increased in primetime. And so they give you a larger allocation for how much you can get paid during the runs of primetime.
Is it possible to be a commercial actor in regional markets?
It definitely is. In the regional area, they always have opportunities for those small-time actors. Everyone is trying to advertise a product or a campaign of some sort or their business. And so I think there's always opportunities. And I tell other actors when I go out to other markets to research your market, see how well you can do in your market before you try to venture out so that you can get somewhat of a step forward and get a little bit of get your foot into somewhat of the business in your area.
Do you think that self-tapes will ever exist in the commercial market?
No. At the moment, it could exist, but I think just the sheer number of actors that they have to see would just make it impossible for them to have to review that much tape. And it's just possibly they can bring people in to take a photo or to just kind of really quickly move them through, and so they would just prefer to see the actor.
What is a buyout?
A buyout is a rate that's given to an actor for you to hold your likeness for a period of time for any product that you're trying to sell. So if they would like for you to sell Nike for a 1-year term on a non-union project, they're going to give you a flat rate so that they can hold you for that 1-year term and just kind of, that's your rate for the project, for your term for that year.
What sort of trends are you noticing in commercials today?
I think two of the major trends that we're really seeing right now on the commercial side are the influx of opportunities in the Latin market, which if someone is Latino or has any kind of heritage that is Latino or speaks Spanish, that they should really hone in on it and bring it to a level of proficiency where they can go in because it's a really big market right now and it's only growing. And secondly, I think a lot of real spots, the real, down-home granola, very authentic types of folks, and I think they're really straying away from the glitzy, made up, over the top. So I think people have to remember to just keep it simple.
In the past, some commercials would run for several years. Do you believe those types of long-term commercial campaigns are over mostly?
I think it's over. It's because right now they're just looking at the ingenious way of rebranding a product and doing it quickly. I have clients that used to have commercials run forever. Now they'll, within 9 months, have had another spot for the same product. And it's just because it saves them on cost, in essence, of having to renegotiate with all the talent that they've had on the spot from before and everybody coming in high, as they say, the price range-wise, and trying to really gouge them for what the rates are, contrary to just shooting a new spot.
Are Super Bowl spots and holiday season spots still considered to be lucrative?
It's actually quite to the contrary, and here's why, and I always remind a lot of actors to this effect, that if they spend $1 million to put on a Super Bowl spot, they don't want to pay you $300,000. So the amount of advertising income that they've put into the spot, they're going to run it for one day. You're going to get a lot of great, what's the word I'm looking for? Exposure. You're going to get a huge amount of exposure. Your family will see, everyone will see it. It's going to be broadcast nationwide and have a lot of great accolades to it. But they're not going to want to compensate you immensely because they've already compensated to put the spot on. So it's actually to the latter that if they do put you in the Super Bowl spot, it might not run for too long. Seasonal spots, I actually have seen them run them throughout the season, and then the one good thing about that is that the next season, if it can be used for something that can roll over, they can use it again. So that's where a seasonal spot can be good because we know that next season, if it's not a car per se or something that will run out of the time frame, that they can use it again and just bring you right back.
Are there commercial seasons as there are with theatrical work?
There definitely are up and down times, and it's just as prevalent, I feel like, as the episodic season, though it doesn't have a name. per se. And so, they have advertising quarters. So the holiday season, you'll see all of the big holiday spots, and they're really putting all of their advertising money into getting ready and gearing up for the holiday season towards the end of the summer. The summer is generally a slower time commercially, as they know a lot of people leave town. The ad money has somewhat dried up for that period, that they know that they're getting ready to gear up for the Christmas holidays and the big spending seasons. So that's why I feel like commercially we definitely have, it could be looked at as maybe two seasons. One's really heavy and intense during the Christmas section and that segment of the year, and one's generally more of a subtle flow during the, spring and summer times.
How does the contract work if an actor shoots several spots in a day for one campaign?
To answer that question, it has two parts. First, it has to be if it's union or non-union. If it's non-union, they could pay per spot. If it's non-union, they could also not pay per spot. If it's union, they would pay per spot. And that's just a flat, because per the union rules, they wouldn't allow them to cut it up unless you have lifts and edits. We can only use one spot, but then edit it into a few different versions, and that's in the contract, and it's already stated prior to closing on the deal.
Should an actor monitor how often his or her commercial airs?
An actor won't necessarily be able to monitor it because it will always run in places that you might not see. But they should definitely know as to how much it's running, where it's running, and if it's running in the appropriate markets in which they've agreed to. Because once in a while, believe it or not, commercials are used on other networks or used in extended ways that someone goes, well, it was only supposed to run until January, and now I see it here in March. And so it definitely is always good to know how long your contract, your extension, the term, etc.
If the commercial airs outside of the parameters of the contract, how should the actor proceed?
I would say contact the agent. That's the agent's responsibility to contact the union or to go through any of the proper mediums to get you the proper compensation if it's overrunning or if it's been renegotiated unbeknownst to the actor, any of those different aspects.
How has social media changed the commercial game?
It's changed it in various ways, from now just internet commercials alone and how many of those we see and how many are solely going to the internet and how they're being disclosed on the internet spots and how they roll them out from the internet. It's also, in a way, kind of doing a disservice to the commercial world, because now actors are finding that a lot of the things that are on the internet, they can post on the internet, and they can kind of divulge certain things that these ad agencies and other companies don't necessarily want them to divulge. So it's a double-edged sword, in a way.
How has social media changed the game for the on-the-rise actor?
I think what it's doing for the on-the-rise actor is giving them an opportunity to showcase themselves a little bit more and network a little bit more. There are a lot of different mediums in which actors can gain a lot of valuable knowledge, insight, and meet other networking professionals through a lot of these social media networks. And it also gives them an opportunity to be current and relevant in what's going on in the times and what new projects, items, products, etc. are coming out.
Do you think that anyone can do commercials?
I don't think anyone can do commercials. I don't think anyone can do any particular profession until you've possibly trained and gotten that bearing. I think it's like any other job. It depends on your personality and your drive and your work ethic, and like anything else.
How should a potential client reach out to you for commercial representation?
They can feel free to email me some links that they have and kind of headshot and resume. And I always take a look at every email. I take a look at every email and every hard copy headshot. Not during the day per se, but whenever I have a moment, I take a look at my emails. And if they're striking and if I definitely see something in them, I'll definitely reach out.
Do you think actors treat you differently when they hear you're an agent?
Definitely. I think actors' first perception is that I was probably an actor that didn't make it, or that something of a different effect, that they don't take me seriously, especially depending sometimes in age. A lot of actors that are my senior might just look at me and be like, well, I have shoes older than you. And I think that's a very big misconception, because I'm very vested in this business and have a good knowledge, a wealth of knowledge, I think, of what my trade is.
Any last piece of advice for all of the aspiring commercial actors?
If you sign up and you decide to work with an agent who is reputable, and you've done your research prior to signing with this person, I assume and I hope, listen to what they have to say, heed their warning. Agents, we're all professionals, and we're here on your best behalf. We're here to work for you. We have your best interests at heart. We're on your team. And remember that you should heed this person's warning to the effect of not necessarily listening to what they have to say blindly, but taking that advice and saying, you know what, that person might just be looking out for me, and versus being combative or versus being, anti-establishment, I guess, just kind of take in what they say for face value and see that it might actually be in your benefit. And guys, I want to thank you again for watching me on the Virtual Channel Network, and I wish you all of the best of luck in your attempts for representation.